There was a shrewd and cunning landowner who owned vast amounts of property across an entire town. He would slyly lend small sums of money to those in need, taking advantage of their lack of education. He'd pile on interest to the original loan, making it impossible for people to repay. Eventually, they'd have no choice but to surrender their land to him. One day, he set his sights on a piece of land owned by an elderly woman who lived near his home. She lived alone, with no family to support her. She grew her own crops and lived a simple, self-sufficient life. The landowner couldn't figure out how to trick her into giving up her land, so he resorted to bribing a local government official. Together, they forged documents to make it seem like the land belonged to him. He and the official visited the old woman and handed her a notice, demanding she hand over her property. The old woman was shocked and heartbroken. She pleaded, "I've lived here my entire life. This land has been in my family for generations. My loved ones are buried here, and I inherited it from them. How can someone just take it away?" She took her case to the local court, but the landowner had already bribed the officials and presented the forged documents. The court ruled in his favor. Devastated, the old woman prepared to leave her home. As she packed her belongings, the landowner and his associates stood nearby, waiting for her to go. Tears streaming down her face, she approached the landowner and said, "You've taken everything from me today. My whole life was spent here, but now I have to leave. This land is where I grew up, where I played, and where my family lived. This soil means everything to me." She continued, "We all come from the earth, and it's natural to feel connected to it. Please let me take a basket of this soil with me. It will remind me of this place until the day I die." The landowner smirked, thinking it was a small price to pay to get her to leave quietly. After all, he'd gotten her entire property without paying a dime. He said, "Fine, take your basket of dirt." The old woman began filling her basket with soil. She packed it so full that she struggled to lift it. She turned to the landowner and said, "Sir, could you help me lift this basket onto my head?" The landowner stepped forward, shaking his head. "You poor old woman," he said. "Didn't you think before overfilling that basket? If you can't even carry it now, how do you expect to take it with you?" With tears in her eyes, the old woman replied, "Sir, this entire land was once mine. I've spent my whole life here, yet I can barely carry a single basket of soil while I'm still alive. When I die, I won't be able to take even that much with me. You've taken so much land from others. Tell me, how will you carry it all with you when your time comes?" The landowner was stunned into silence. Her words hit him like a thunderbolt. Overcome with guilt, he fell to her knees and begged for her forgiveness. He promised to return her land and asked her to live there in peace for the rest of her days. "Do not cheat. Don't be greedy. Do not take more than you need. Be content with what you have. Sometimes it's sufficient for a happy life."